I guess there's no better way to start a video like this than with an introduction. Hello, I'm the Pastel Witch. Chances are you came across this channel from one of two videos, something that I'm very fortunate for. It was these videos that gave me my first big break, so to speak. It was these videos that allowed me to monetize my content, even though, ironically enough, the video that granted me that ability is ineligible for monetization. It's funny how YouTube works. It was a very surreal experience, seeing so many people flood the comments, not just to give encouragement and feedback, but to make inside jokes and references to the overall TF2 zeitgeist. It was surreal because I understood all of it. I didn't need to pretend to fit into a community. I didn't have to frantically look anything up on Google to try and decipher what could possibly compel someone to type bacon bacon. I understood it all. And it's no surprise, I've been playing this game since 2014. And I've been watching TF2 content creators even longer than that. People like Star, Stir, it's hard to tell which one I should say nowadays, Germa, King Raja, Skyman, Nissel, Funk, Delphi, Array7, Musalk, and I continue to watch TF2 content creators today. Ones that I think not only carry on the legacy of those before them, but innovate in creative and entertaining ways. People like El Maxo, Lazy Purple, Soundsmith, Crazy Blue, just to name a few of them. I say all of this because I want you to know that I've been a part of this community for a while. Moreover, I've seen how many of these content creators were treated when they tried to branch from that TF2uber label. Could Stir have been nicer to the fan base he cultivated when he decided to slowly stop making TF2 content? Maybe, but I imagine it's gotta get to you at some point when hundreds of people keep asking you to make content for a game you're clearly starting to fall out of love with. Maybe I'm seeing patterns that aren't there because I'm blessed with, or maybe cursed with, hindsight. But to me, the TF2 videos Stir made before this infamous video felt like they were made out of necessity and not desire. He just seems exacerbated, drained even. And the final three TF2 videos he made after that video are oddly a very fitting end to his time with the game. Asterix, yeah, I know he came back to the game later. This is going to sound like an insane comparison, but just bear with me. Most things in media have a natural progression of intensity. Things might start off more contained and simple, and its subsequent sequels or additions will contribute and add more, continuing to crescendo into a cavalcade of insanity until you do something like, I don't know, put Jason Voorhees in space, or put terrorists on Mars and shoot guns in space, or make the main character president before giving them literal superpowers in space. It usually ends up being in space somehow. To me, that's what the final three TF2 videos Stir made are. They are the in-space equivalent of his content. And I don't think it was done without any self-awareness. Making TF2 content was getting stale, and it was only becoming more of a chore by the day. What better way than to come up with a concept that would spice things up one last time while also doing something so dramatic that there's seemingly no way to go further from there. As someone who still watches Stir, I want to be fair and say that there are things to criticize him for. Is it petty that Stir allegedly cut ties with Germa for about 2 years just because of a D&D session? Sure. Do I think that infamous April Fool's stream was a little bit harsh to the people who wanted to see him return to TF2? I don't know, maybe. But it was April Fool's. I think people should have suspected a trick. Even still, it was a little mean to bash something that ultimately gave you the success you currently have. I definitely don't think he should have gotten DDoSed over it, though. Most of this animosity towards him, though, is, and I cannot stress this enough, due to him not playing TF2. Doesn't really have anything to do with the other stuff that's going on. Imagine getting vilified by a community because you stopped uploading content for one game. You don't have to imagine, because I'm going to be talking about Musalk next. You could argue that Musalk was the king of TF2 YouTube. It would be a pointless argument, because I don't think there's a single TF2 anything that doesn't have his influence lingering somewhere within it. You know the man's resume: Try Hard Tuesdays, funny custom map showcases, Mythbusters, High Stakes, Is It OP? Around the time that Overwatch started giving bedroom eyes to TF2, the game was in a very, very rocky spot. In response, Musalk hopped from a sinking ship in exchange for a hype train. To his credit, he did try to play both games for a while, but, well, those view counts talk. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say. People's feelings of betrayal have nothing to do with him leaving TF2 and have everything to do with him becoming a trend seeker instead of the trend setter that he once was. There's things to criticize about Muselk today. I don't particularly love that his sense of personality is all but gone, fading into the background in order to become a cookie-cutter, family-friendly Fortnite channel. I don't love his overuse of red arrows or bolded words next to Wojak faces. I really don't love the new logo, but the venom and vitriol that people aimed at him, the hatred that people held against this man, happened way before he got to that point. Whether you dislike Overwatch or not, Muselk still had passion for the work that he did when he was uploading Overwatch content on his channel. The soul and personality and creativity was still being put into those videos for a significant amount of time. But to some people, that just didn't matter, because it wasn't TF2. By now, I think it's time that I get to the point of this video. I don't want to be a TF2uber. That's not to say that I'm never going to post TF2 content again. That's not to say that I won't finish the second part of me going through every TF2 weapon and its history. And that's not to say I'm not grateful for the attention I got because of a game that I deeply love. The term TF2uber just comes with a hefty promise, a suffocating promise. A promise that you'll make a dedication to this game no matter what, and that's never what this channel has been. I've always posted a variety of content, and I don't intend to stop now. This video may come off negative, defensive, or maybe even angry. And that really isn't my intention, but I understand that it's hard not to take it that way when the video started the way that it did. Though, if you'll listen just a little bit longer, I think that I can prove that my intentions for this video aren't malicious. I know how much the TF2 community has been through. The war between Overwatch and TF2 was a brutal one. Maybe not much nowadays because Overwatch 2 is a dumpster fire, but back then, TF2 was in a state of uncertainty. A lack of developer communication turned into no communication from the developers. Updates were becoming sparse, and one of the last big updates the game did receive went over horribly. Players were leaving in droves, and of course, that included content creators as well. People like Stir, Muselk, RT Game, everyone seemed to be leaving for one reason or another. With developers, players, and beloved content creators alike leaving the game, it was a sign that TF2 was dying. This incited panic, and after enough time, that panic curdled into anger and fear. Some people chose to point that anger and fear at Overwatch. Some people chose to point it at the developers, and unfortunately, there were those who pointed it at the content creators who left, effectively killing any chance that they would return, as at this point they were now being driven away. Now, of course, with that curse of hindsight, we know that TF2 didn't die. At this point, we all know that TF2 is the cockroach of the gaming landscape. Throw whatever you want at it, and somehow it'll only end up coming back stronger. It seems to break concurrent player counts with every passing year, and it's remained relevant for nearly 2 decades. But the community has changed. TF2 YouTube is not the place that it once was. And yes, as I said previously, there are still the quote-unquote new age TF2ubers who are creating incredible quality content. But I'd argue that there isn't that pantheon of TF2ubers that we once had. That's why when someone new enters the scene, they're welcomed with open arms. The community happy that they can latch on to another TF2 content creator after the exodus that occurred a few years prior. I don't want to let people down, and I certainly don't want to give people the wrong impression. I love TF2, and I will still post the occasional TF2 video in the future. But I am not a TF2uber.